GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show with more hope than trying to cancel a gym membership online. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton. It's Saturday, April the 26th. And once again, we are crashing the Milk Road Pro research meeting, just like we do every week. We've got Adrian and Martin in the house, two lead writers and researchers on the Milk Road Pro team. These guys do absolutely nothing but research crypto all day, every day. And every Tuesday, we have a research meeting where we talk about whatever is going on in that week. We record it and we release it to you guys for free every Saturday. So you can try to figure out where is the signal within all the noise. And there is a lot of noise right now. Today, we're going to discuss the Bitcoin decoupling, which is becoming one of the favorite conversations of this show right now. We're going to dive into, is Bitcoin decoupling from risk on assets? Is it becoming a risk off asset? Its correlation to gold. We're going to look at some charts. We're going to talk all about that. Vitalik wrote a new Ethereum proposal. What happens when Vitalik writes a new Ethereum proposal? Everybody stops what they're doing and tries to understand what the heck Vitalik is talking about and how to be even close to the tech nerd that he is. So we're going to break down this new proposal, which is suggesting that Ethereum move away from the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, to a new smart contract language. Look, I'm not going to get into the technicals right now, but we'll break it all down for you and make sure you understand and how it might affect Ethereum and the price action. And finally, we're going to talk about Bitttensor. Why? Two reasons. One, it's done very well over the past month. One of the best performing tokens throughout a lot of this chaos. Bitttensor has been on a real rise. And two, it's one of the few AI coins that has real fundamentals behind it, unlike a lot of the AI agent coins that are really just meme coins at this point. So Bitttensor, or Tau, which is ticker, is a very interesting token to look into if you really believe in the AI crypto narrative. And we're going to break that down and talk a little bit about our views on it in terms of whether or not we think it's a good investment. Before we jump in, I got two very important things to tell you about. First, today we're releasing a pro report which outlines our bull case for Coinbase and why we believe it could one day reach $1 trillion in valuation. That's obviously a massive gain from where it is today. So if you're a pro member, make sure you check out the report. If you're not a pro member, you might want to go pro. And right now you can go pro and get 20% off your subscription. Why? Because we believe very strongly that we are still in a bull market and we're going to put some money where our mouth is. So if you go pro today, this week, if you go pro before May 1st, not only will you get 20% off, you also get a money back guarantee that if we are not at Bitcoin all-time highs by October 31st, 2025, we will give you a full refund. Today's episode is brought to you by MoonPay. Trade crypto fee-free, fast, and on your terms. It's also brought to you by Coinshift, powering top crypto treasuries with their yield-bearing stablecoin CSUSDL.
All right, guys, welcome back. Another pro research meeting. Today, no Kyle. He's playing golf or whatever somewhere in Florida.
Not paddle, though.
Yeah, not paddle. Well, I was playing paddle the whole weekend. And actually, I was a couple of days off. And it was really good to just be offline for a couple of days and just do, something offline, touch some grass and this kind of stuff. It's very underrated still. Especially for people like me who are 24/7 on Twitter and just in crypto very deep all day long. Very useful. I would recommend that everyone. Anyways,
especially right now, there's so much noise right now. Much noise.
Yeah. And also at some point it will make you think about why we are here. Why am I doing what am I doing? And these beliefs, if they are still there, they don't disappear, and then you are doing something good, and stay there. Just try to ignore the short-term volatility right now and focus on the long-term picture, and it doesn't change at all for me. And if something, it's making me more and more bullish on crypto every day. So but hopefully the price will reflect that optimism eventually.
You also need the right portfolio positions to relax over the weekend.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Was your portfolio not relaxing over the weekend, Adrian?
It was. Now it is. But a few months ago, I couldn't have taken a weekend off.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, talking about portfolio, we are gonna start with Bitcoin and gold because we see some interesting dynamics in the markets. Then we are gonna talk quickly about the Vitalik recent blog post, which was kind of surprising to everyone, I guess. And then Adrian has some news and updates, what's going on in AI space and Bittensor. So yeah, that's the agenda for today. I think we can start right off. Maybe I'll share my
Bitcoin finally
screen.
decoupling? Is it happening? Is it happening, guys? I don't know. I don't know.
We have been talking about Bitcoin decoupling for so many years. I feel like uh, that's something we were all hoping for all the years. And now, like over the last 2 weeks, where we can see in the markets that stocks are down, S&P and Nasdaq are down, and obviously dollar as well. But Bitcoin and gold, they are making new highs. Well, I mean, not all-time highs for Bitcoin, but new all-time highs for gold. So what does that really mean? Is it finally the decoupling we have been talking about for years at this point? Uh, or is it just, I don't know, short-term noise, and we will be correlating with stocks in the future anyways? What do you guys think?
We've seen this decoupling several times already, or decoupling, so to say, because if there's just less interest in the market, less TradFi in the market, less Wall Street, Bitcoin can actually decouple because there's just not that amount that's typically in tech stocks, that's typically in Bitcoin, maybe also in Ethereum and crypto in the market anymore. So I guess that might be one of the reasons.
Was Bitcoin correlated to, like, I mean, Bitcoin's correlation is its correlation to US tech stocks. It basically trades like a high risk tech stock, and it has since COVID. Did it trade as a high risk tech stock before COVID, or was it really COVID? Look, money printer went on, liquidity entered the system, and Bitcoin started from that moment forward to trade like a high risk tech stock just because of all the liquidity that entered the system, specifically within the US. So we had a lot of American money entering the system. What do Americans bet on? Americans bet on high risk tech stocks, and they started to trade Bitcoin like it. I don't think the correlation was that strong before that. And I think now what we're seeing is I think we are seeing the decoupling. I think it is early days, but I kind of feel like it's happening. It's tough because, I'm going to say this, and then 2 weeks from now, Bitcoin's we're going to head to local top. Look, it's early, so it's difficult to predict this, but it feels like a few things are happening right now with everything that's happening with Trump and tariffs. There is a move away from American assets that is happening right now. I mean, look at U.S. Treasuries. U.S. Treasuries are not being bought like they typically are. Like, typically, U.S. Treasuries are seen as the flight to safety in moments like this. But right now, the flight to safety is gold and only gold. And of course, gold is always the flight to safety. That's nothing new, right? But everything is going towards gold right now. And when you see everything going towards gold, then we all say, okay, well, everything should also go towards digital gold, right? It should go towards gold, and it should go towards digital gold. And so that is also happening. My gut says we are seeing the decoupling, but early. Also, we could have just seen Bitcoin might have just found a local bottom right now, is also possible. And it's in that range, and we're range bound for a while. So I don't think anybody should be going crazy yet and saying that the decoupling has happened yet. Martin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's too short time frame to make any kind of decisions right now. At the same time, maybe a part of me wanna kind of believe that it's finally happening. Is it just a response to the tariffs because tariffs do not impact the Bitcoin price or whatsoever? The same is true for Bitcoin, but it's not true for stocks and Nasdaq. So while I agree, I would love to see that decoupling. I still think that that's might still be quite early to say, okay, we are off the race and we are decoupled from stocks at this point. So I pretty agree with what you just said. And by the way, this is another chart because everyone right now is bullish on gold. But if you compare gold relative to stocks, which is the black line here, you can see that gold versus stocks there was a huge downtrend in 80s and 90s, and then it went up, and then financial crisis hit it in 28, and since then the gold versus stocks went down again. So now we are just like, there's a little spike up right now, and everyone is like, wow, gold to the moon. But you always need to zoom out and see the bigger picture. So the question is also kind of gold gonna outperform stocks from now on? Or what's the function here between more money hitting the markets and stocks, which might be overvalued at this point? Who knows? I mean, like a couple of years ago, when we were looking at stocks market, we might be seeing like companies making a ton of money. And I remember consensus was price earnings ratio below 20 is a good buy. And now, a couple of years later, and we are saying everything below 30 is good. And it's because the money velocity is much faster. And also there is much more money in the markets because we are all the time printing new money. So like, it's really hard to see like these dynamics. How is it going to play out in the next 3 to 5 years? Let's say, is gold going to outperform stocks and we see this black line going further up, or is it just recent concerns about the economic growth, and once we are back on a bull market, like, who gives a fuck about the gold? Everyone will buy Nvidia, Apple, Amazon again, and we will do just fine, and no one will remember these discussions at all. What do you guys think?
I mean, we see a flight to safety here with people buying into gold so much, but we should hope gold stops rallying sometime, because typically then Bitcoin can rally, because I guess some of the profits from gold will dribble down into Bitcoin.
Certainly, Bitcoin always lags gold, for sure. But it hasn't. It traditionally, at least in the past 5 years, it hasn't followed gold because, again, it trades as a risk-on asset, not a risk-off asset. Gold trades as risk-off, right? And we all know that Bitcoin is digital gold, and it should, like, long term. You all agree, right? Like, it's eventually this decoupling is happening. So we're not debating whether it's going to happen or not. I mean, if it never happens, then Bitcoin is never going to become digital gold, and we got a bigger problem here. So, but it's going to happen eventually. It's just a question of when it happens. I think the thing is, though, that right now there is just, it is so, all of these conversations could end up being noise because it's all tariffs. And what is the end state of tariff policy in the short term? And there needs to be a short-term end state, because Trump needs an exit soon, right? He needs an exit in like the next month, I think. Like, he is getting to the point where this is spiraling out of control. We are definitely in a recession. The data doesn't say it yet, but for sure we are. We're going to see it in the data in the next few months that we're in a recession. And like, at that point, it's going to be, you risk the growth scare actually becoming a serious thing, and spending going down and unemployment rising, and then we can like really spiral out of control. So but like right now, it just feels like, look, risk is very high. And so what happens when risk high? Everyone goes to risk off assets, and they're going to gold. And then thankfully they're also going to Bitcoin. So yeah, I think it's too early to actually say there's a decoupling, but it does feel like, what I really see is, I don't think this correlation between Bitcoin and tech stocks or the Nasdaq risk on assets feels like the the Fed created that correlation with all the printing they have done since COVID. I think that's where that correlation came from. We, like the Fed built that correlation out of thin air because they just printed so much money. And now that correlation is coming off. But here's the thing. Most likely the money printer is going to turn on again later this year. So then does the correlation come back? Like I could see it coming back. I don't know. It's too early. It's too early right now.
Maybe I have to add, as the German stock index, for example, is performing quite well, while the Nasdaq and S&P is down
Right.
a lot. European assets are performing well because that's also kind of a flight to safety right now.
German bonds are performing well right now. I mean, there's just a rotation out of American assets right now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like you guys are out of the US. Tell us, like, what's the media saying? Like, I'm guessing that the media outside of the US is saying, you know, move your money out of the US. The US is dangerous. Trump isn't trustworthy. Don't listen to him, right? Like that's that's just what the media is saying outside the US. So I think there's a lot of money is flowing out of American assets and into other equities markets, other assets, bonds and gold, obviously, because we're in a risk-off environment currently. So
do you think that the money will stay outside of US, or once we are back and we have more certainty about the tariffs and, you know, Trump's policy and those kind of stuff, they will flow back to US, or they'll stay in Europe or elsewhere?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's no challenge to the US dollar as the global reserve currency. There is no alternative right now. I think some people are thinking, like, what is the alternative? And I think some people are looking for it, but there's no alternative. There's Bitcoin's the alternative, but it's way too early. It's not Bitcoin yet, right? Like not at that scale. And also, so I don't know. I think some money will not flow back in, but I think it's going to be hard to. The problem is that the US can keep printing. They do not have an end to this debt cycle that they're in. And when the US keeps printing, then more money flows into the US and into US stocks, and US stocks rises because Americans buy US stocks. And so then everybody wants to come here and wants to invest in these markets. So I don't know that cycle. I don't know that it's going to stay out at the scale that it's moving out right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think like if you look at top 20 biggest companies in the world, so I think like 18 are US based, and like just look at yourself, right? Like we all use iPhones and Macs from Apple, then we watch Netflix in the evenings, then we buy something on Amazon. So we all use kind of American products because they are the best ones. And even though I'm from Europe, I cannot really think about any company that I really love based here in Europe. Like the first thing that comes to my mind is Nestle, because they are doing KitKat and these, you know, sweet stuff. But what else? Like maybe Adidas is German, but I don't know. Like there are not many great products in Europe, like, to be honest. And if you are an investor, you will have these glasses and look, okay, what are the good products and who is going to crash next 10, 20 years? And is there something interesting in Europe that's going on? I'm not sure. Like we are trying to regulate crypto when there isn't still that huge adoption of crypto in Europe, versus America is now like on the other side and like, hey, we need to support this technology because it's going to bring a lot of wealth in the future, and it helps us to grow demand for our dollars. And like they are very kind of proactive in trying to attracting new builders coming to the US and building on these technologies. And Europe, the parliament in European Union is kind of the opposite. And like even the central bankers in Europe are like, hey, we don't see Bitcoin as everyone else. And they're like very old school guys, it feels like. So I'm not sure if any people really want to stay in this market for a longer period of time. So now we might see, because also dollar is going down and we expect it keeps going down. So I can see also they are trying just to protect the exchange rate of their currency. And now when dollar is expected to go down and the Trump and everything, so they move all the funds from US away, but eventually they'll come back, I think.
Let's be honest, everything in crypto comes with fees. But here's a nice surprise. MoonPay Balance doesn't take a cut. You heard that right. No MoonPay fees when you buy or sell crypto with your MoonPay Balance. Top up with dollars, pounds, or euros, then you're ready to trade instantly whenever the market moves. And if you change your mind, withdraw your cash. No MoonPay fee there either. Simple, fast, ready when you are. Check it out at milkroad.com/MoonPay. Disclaimer, network and ecosystem fees apply. Meet CSUSDL, the stablecoin built for institutions and DAOs. Don't just hold basic stablecoins, earn yield, all without compromising security. Backed by regulated real-world assets and secured with institutional-grade risk management by our friends at Steakhouse Financial, put your treasury cash to work, earning native yield and protocol rewards. Built by the team behind Coinshift, which is trusted to manage over $1 billion in business treasuries on-chain, including Aave, Gitcoin, and hundreds of leading institutions, CYCSUSDL is gaining traction at milkroad.com/Coinshift. Here's what I do think is interesting is, Adrian, I said, what's the other option for a global reserve asset? And you said Bitcoin, and it's true. And just that thought right now, that is happening right now. There is central bankers, there is governments, there is large macro traders that are all looking and learning about Bitcoin right now. Doesn't mean that they're in yet, but there's a lot of learning happening. So, and this current, there's a lot of people saying that this current chaotic crisis, this mess that we're in is really great for Bitcoin, right? Maybe not immediately you can see it right now in the price. Maybe that doesn't sustain. Maybe it doesn't decouple. Maybe this uncorrelation doesn't continue. But it doesn't change the fact that now is a moment where there is a lot of these large macro players that are trying to figure out, okay, if I don't trust US in the long term, if I don't want to buy US treasuries in the long term because I believe that the US dollar is going to continue to debase, then what else am I looking for? And look, I'm not saying that this lack of trust of the US is going to continue. I do think they will get it back, and I do think this is a moment in time as a result of Trump just being a total nut sometimes. But I think that there's some interesting things going on around Bitcoin right now, which are very, very bullish for the long term. Do they show up in the next 6 months? I don't know.
Yeah, right. And actually, Bitcoin is already the 13th biggest currency. It's more or less on par with the Russian currency already. Well, it's bigger even than the Russian ruble. So it's quite the accomplishment, I would say.
I also wonder when those bidders of gold right now will switch and kind of buy Bitcoin instead. And what the ratio even today is. So maybe out of all that money, I don't know, 5% is flowing into Bitcoin and the rest is into gold. But that ratio is probably gonna increase over time, right?
But isn't that interesting? Just to go back to that, what are the largest currencies in the world? Because think about that. Okay, so you're a central bank and you need to figure out where to park your money, and if Bitcoin is next to the ruble right now, you're obviously not going to pick the ruble to put your money in. So it does sort of show the potential. There's no other option for this global reserve currency, and Bitcoin is gaining fast, right? It really, it builds the case for the long term of Bitcoin very strong right now.
And actually, I think the gold bugs, they will not only change to Bitcoin, they will also always love their gold. But right now, many European countries, they are thinking about moving their gold out of the US, and they might have a problem actually getting it. So in the future, they might think Bitcoin as digital gold, it's way easier to move. We don't have to store it anywhere
Yeah.
else. So might be a good idea to diversify the Bitcoin.
Man, I think this is a huge value proposition for everyone. Like, if you have a lot of money and it's all in gold, then at some point you might gonna have struggles to move these kind of money or wealth around the world. Versus Bitcoin is pretty easy. I would like to talk a little about the recent proposal.
Yeah, what was
Or
Vitalik up to this weekend? Just thinking to
Yeah.
throw out the virtual machine? What's going on here, guys?
So TLDR is, and it's not proposal as proposal that Vitalik is just coming with this idea and saying like, hey, let's vote tomorrow if we should do it or not. Instead, try to think about like Vitalik is bringing an idea and suggesting that this might be useful and kind of inviting a new feedback from more broader community rather than saying we should do it. Even though we all know that he's very respectful and like very smart guy. So when he's suggesting and proposing something, kind of bringing this idea, it's usually not getting a lot of kind of arguments against it. But I just want to start by saying this is an idea that Vitalik came up with, and it's not like a certain thing. It's going to be discussed because there are a lot of open questions, and I don't know the answers. I just want to point this out and kind of provide you with the explanation of what this idea is about. And
We recognize that this website is Ethereum Magicians. That's so typical Ethereum.
yeah,
It's so true.
yeah.
Solana would not have Solana Magicians as their website for managing their proposals.
Yeah. That's right. So, and let me be clear, I am not like 100% sure what like this whole idea of replacing EVM with RISC-V is about. I'm not a technical guy, and this is very technical thing. So I'll just try to provide my understanding of what is going on. And the idea is right now, Ethereum is running EVM, which is Ethereum Virtual Machine. So you can think of some kind of standards how this machine is operated, and it uses some variables and some kind of language how to describe how the code should work and how smart contracts should behave. And it's all good, but the point is that it's not that compatible with the future that Ethereum thinks that they are heading, and that's ZK future. ZK is zero knowledge proofs. And if you also think about the chips that are built, Intel or Apple is also building their own chips. They are all using some kind of language, how the hardware communicates. But those guys are using closed source kind of languages for communicating the hardware and software. But there is an open source standard, which is RISC-V, and it's getting very popular among the ZK, zero knowledge community. And if we think that the future of Ethereum is in ZK, and if you don't know what ZK means, you can think of it as a very cryptographic oriented or like math based proofs that something happened without revealing the data behind it. So like if you do transaction on Ethereum, it might don't need to verify everything that's happening. You might only need to verify that the transaction is correct. So I don't want to go into that much details, but the point is Ethereum is heading into ZK future, and we think that with this new standard, which is called RISC-V, this is open source code that it has a huge community of people already who are building using this standard, he thinks that Ethereum would hugely benefit from it by it would simplify a lot of things and it would bring much more scalability to the Ethereum. So I have seen some feedback from a lot of people, and it feels like a lot of people are really seeing these ideas very positive in a sense that yes, there is some Ethereum virtual machine. It was working fine. It's still working fine, but there are some limits. And if we really think that the ZK is the future, we should really consider this idea going forward.
What does it mean for layer twos?
For what?
For layer twos. What does it mean for them? When the L1 changes from the EVM to RISC-V.
Well, this is still not like we are going to change it tomorrow, right? It's still like and if this is approved in the future, it might still take a couple of years before it's really implemented. And like all the EVM contracts that are working today would still work. There would be an interpreter which would just convert the kind of old EVM contracts into this new standard RISC-V, and that way it would work. But from now on, it would still take a couple of years before it's like fully deployed and approved. So we are still quite far from there. But in general, I think there is a lot of changes, updates, announcements around Ethereum. And while we could still debate, okay, Ethereum is 200 bill market asset today. Should it be more? Should it be less? Many people think that it should be less. Maybe they are right. I don't know. But the idea is that Ethereum is doing so many changes. They are building on like so many lines how they want to ensure that they are going to stay relevant in 5 or 10 years. And all the key players on Ethereum today, like, these layer twos or banks or whoever is going to use it, or whoever is using it today, they are happy with the roadmap and they are building towards their needs in the future as well. So a lot of changes, and I think a lot of these fat should now go away. And like, okay, Ethereum has resetted already leadership and everything. You can hear the feedback from big investors and like a lot of builders in the space that there are big changes that you can feel if you are in the Ethereum ecosystem today. So, and this only kind of give me a more credit, or give Ethereum more credit that it's really happening, and we are reflecting what's happening and what has been unlocked recently. Because like zero knowledge technology wasn't a thing a couple years ago, but it's a huge thing today. And even though it's still not like you cannot provide ZK proofs within a couple milliseconds today, it might be possible within 3-5 years. And that's why you need to have a future looking approach. Let me put it that way. So yeah, do you guys have any thoughts here?
Do they want to make the L1 scalable? Is this the change from the L2 roadmap?
It's not changed. Like L2 roadmap is still in place, but this is going to scale execution layer of Ethereum. Yes.
Yeah, this would definitely scale the L1 for sure. Because basically, I mean, to me, this is like really techie, deep in the weeds, like leave this to the builders kind of stuff, to be honest. Like, it's so funny to me that this stuff, this is where decentralized organizations are so different than centralized organizations. Like, you would never see typically a company talking in this way in public about their roadmap and their tech and what they're doing. And everybody loves, every time Vitalik makes a post, everybody loves to go crazy and dive into it and what's it mean and blah, blah, blah. But like, look, TLDR, Ethereum's 10 years old. Cryptography has changed immensely in the past 10 years, and they are doing what they need to do to scale for the future. Like, here you go. And this makes, and zero knowledge proofs are the future. And Ethereum as an L1 is also like that's what they need to do. They need to continue to scale the L1, and so this is one option of how they can do that. And shout out to Vitalik for continuing to push, and we'll see how this conversation goes. But yeah, so it's all positive to me for Ethereum, but I don't get too caught up in the weeds of this because, as you said, Martin, like we're talking about a decentralized organization here. Like, this isn't like Vitalik saying this is going to happen. This is him saying, hey guys, this is my idea. Let's all talk about it. Let's vote. Like, it's going to take a while. So, it's a new Vitalik post. We're going to talk about it for a week and then we're all going to forget about it. And in the background, all the nerds are going to continue to talk about this for the next few months until I make a decision. And then we'll have a decision in the future. So yeah, I don't really go too deep into this stuff because I'm also not a tech person. I don't know the difference between EVM and RISC-V. Cool. Yeah. Great. Scale ZK. Like that part I know. We need ZK, that's for sure.
But also, like, your point of going out there and like just having some blog post, right? I guess you need to do that because a lot of people are dependent on your tech, and like, I don't know, there is thousands of builders who are building on top of Ethereum, and you need to kind of provide, and you want to be as much transparent as possible, and like also inviting that feedback. So the opposite of this would be, okay, we are doing this and that's it, just announcement. This is more like, let everyone get on the same boat. Let's make sure that everyone is compatible with this, and we are not kind of providing platforms risks for anybody, basically. So
yeah, but I agree with what you're saying. I totally agree. Like, you need to do that. The problem is Vitalik is too big of a celebrity. That's really the problem to me here, right? Like, we all hold Vitalik up on this pedestal, and he's the face of crypto, really. Like, other than Satoshi, but Satoshi has no face. So it's Vitalik, right? He is the face of crypto. And so that's the issue, is like Vitalik makes this like super technical post that really is for the builders and for the tech. And it's not like, I'm not saying it's not for the investors. It is. We definitely need to understand the roadmap as investors, but everybody goes so deep into it. Whereas if any of the other decentralized chains make suggestions like this, there's not this level of discussion about it. Not everyone is speculating on it and trying to dive into it. It's not the same thing. And so I just think there's just too much weight put on Vitalik and what he says. And I think it leads to, I don't know, like over analyzing something like this, which like it's too early to know if they're going to go with this, or I don't know. I just think we dive too deep into his stuff. And it's not like it moves price, right? Like, does this conversation move price? No.
Yeah.
Maybe it's actually a vampire attack on Solana, because if I read here, smart contracts can also be written in Rust, which is the programming language for Solana. They might get some devs. It'll actually be quite interesting. And I'm really wondering what happens to zero knowledge layer 2s, because Consensus and CK think they built zero knowledge layer 2s with hundreds of millions of VC money. Will these still be needed, or?
Well, I guess they can still build it. This is for Ethereum execution layer. Yeah. Anyways,
L1 stores, why use an L2?
Well, like, because you will not still fit for all use cases, and like there are still companies or fintechs who will want their own chain.
I still
this
think
will be an L3 or another L2. What about general purpose L2 stuff?
It will be another app chain or L2, yes. But that's the future, like, we are bullish on, right? Like, we have products, we have infrastructure, we only need to bring more users. And those like Coinbase, Kraken, Revolut, Robinhood, they have the users. So we need to give them the tech, the infrastructure to bring those users come closer to DeFi, to the products that we are building here.
And it just makes me much more pessimistic about the L2s that exist right now.
Yeah. Well, you need to have something. You need to have a working product, or you need to have a huge user base. If you have any of that, well, you might gonna struggle, I think.
Everyone besides Base.
Well, Kraken has ink. It feels like they might also have a shot. Hyperliquid took a different approach. They started with good product, and now they are like building more EVM kind of generalized chain. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's tough to call put Hyperliquid in the same category, right? They is a different approach. Like they built an app and
yeah,
then built a chain, which we all agree that makes a lot of sense. You got the users and you have the app that they all use, then like sure, go build the chain and take more profit and have more control and build better features. So like that makes sense.
exactly. All right, should we move on to Bittensor? What's going on there?
Sure, let's talk about Bitttensor, like half of crypto Twitter. I recently saw a lot of big content creators jumping on the Bitttensor wagon. And Jay, if you could share the CoinGecko, or yeah, let's start with this one. Actually, there's now a fund that focuses on Bitttensor and especially the subnets, which we'll be coming to in a minute. So there's a lot going on. Also, Barry Silbert from Digital Currency Group, he's very much into Bitttensor. He just talked to Raul Pal about it. I can really recommend his talk. It's quite interesting. So a lot of institutional money being quite interested in decentralized AI. And if we check the Bitttensor price on CoinGecko, we can see it's actually over the last 7 days, maybe also over the last month, one of the better performing assets. Uh, because in the current shop, we saw very low prices around 170 US dollars, but now it almost made 2x. So not bad in the current market sentiment. A little bit, maybe also tracking the positive price action of Bitcoin, because the tokenomics of Bittensor and Bitcoin are very much aligned. Both have a fixed supply of 21 million tokens, and Bittensor also has a 4-year halving cycle. So in 2026, the inflation will actually just be half of what it is right now. I mean, the current market cap 2.9 billion. It's not low at all. It's no micro cap anymore. But if we want to bet on a decentralized AI, maybe after the whole AI agent hype, we are seeing it makes more sense to look after the more established products, maybe be diversified, because right now we have to think about when we check any altcoin, what's really going on. Is there a market and is there a problem and a solution that's something that's being solved by this project? And right now with centralized AI, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's a little bit scary that big tech owns all of our data. And I guess many people will not use the incognito mode of ChatGPT, for example, or of Perplexity. But it makes me really afraid when I hear that ChatGPT has now this extremely big context window of 1 million tokens. So if you give it personal data, OpenAI, maybe even Microsoft at some point will have a lot of data about you. And you should really think about, do you want this? Because data is also kind of the gold of the 21st century. And data is very valuable. So maybe in the future, it might be interesting for all of us to be able to have our data on the blockchain somehow, being able to publish it to doctors or something like that, or also being able to sell it at some point to companies because it's so valuable. And if the companies already have all your data, they won't give you any money for it. What do you think, guys?
Can you just explain Bittensor? Like, let's just back up for a second. For those who don't know Bittensor, can you give us an overview?
Yeah, sure. It's this decentralized, permissionless AI marketplace, more or less. It's an open market for different AI services. It's not just one project, but it's actually 88 subnets. And each of these subnets has a special use case, something solved with AI. This can be on the one side. Yeah, exactly. These are the subnets right now on the screen. This can be something like sports betting. It can be data analysis. It can be prediction analysis. It can be compute. So there's actually a lot of use cases, and every one of us could start his or her own subnet and become a part of this bigger net work of different AI models and this decentralized AI marketplace.
Is there a
It's-
token for every subnet?
Yes, you can ask that.
Excuse me?
Is there a token for every subnet?
Actually, now there is, because in February we had the dynamic Tau upgrade. Before that, we just had the Tau token and basically a centralized committee that chooses the winners that get the tokens from the emissions, that get the incentives that are being mined basically from the miners. And we had very limited growth and no real incentive for the different subnets to really excel, to build really useful products. And now each of these subnets has a unique token. They are called alpha tokens. And if you stake Tau into a subnet, you will receive the alpha token as a staking reward, basically. So you give up your Tau. It's kind of like a swap. It's the alpha token, but you get the alpha token and you can stake it and get yield on it as well. And the price of the different alpha tokens is actually determined by the amount of Tau that's staked in a certain subnet. So right now we have market-driven rewards. Before that, we had this very centralized and not open market environment, and that's what I guess will really excel the whole ecosystem and make Tau and the Bitttensor way more interesting.
You want to tell us about some of these subnets? I know you got a bunch of screens to walk through here.
Yes, let's look into some of the subnets from Arayan Labs. Actually, they created different subnets. First of all, what we're seeing here is Chutes. They are doing a serverless AI infrastructure. You can basically use most of the AI models there. If you go to the website of Chutes on the next tab, and you choose the model. Right now it's Llama for Maverick, but you could also use DeepSeek, for example, and all the new or Japanese or Chinese models that are being created. You can use and test them there, and everything for free, of course. You don't have to go to all the different websites and use some sites like this to compare the different models and how they perform. Or you have a certain use case, for example, that might just require a new AI model. We've also recently heard about the model from Alibaba, which is very powerful. So yeah, that's actually a cool use case. We also have something like gradients. This no-code AI training, and this has actually a very good cost advantage versus Google Vertex. So the advantage here is it's just way cheaper than the centralized counterpart, what they are doing.
Very interesting, because this is one of the biggest challenges of competing with the mega tech companies with AI is the cost, right? They've got billions of dollars to spend on compute, and a little guy who wants to develop AI doesn't have access to that, so they're going to get beat out by the big guys. But you're saying that with gradients here, you can access the highest performing models at a low cost, a cost that is lower than what the large tech companies are providing.
Exactly. And why is that? Because anyone can basically use GPUs, for example, to contribute in such a decentralized ecosystem. Therefore, you have a cost efficiency, and you're also using compute, for example, that would be idle instead. So that's really the advantage of decentralized AI. And then, of course, you might have advantages when it comes to privacy. You don't have a single entity like Microsoft storing all the data. You could also potentially scale almost indefinitely because, if you, me, and 100,000 or millions of users actually just give their compute and build nodes for this ecosystem, they could outperform a supercomputer. And get incentivized by tokens for that. Of course, these tokens are very inflationary. It's quite difficult to hold these, but that's the whole thing with Deepin, for example. These tokens are mostly no long-term holds, but it's quite interesting to just incentivize users with tokens and make them, participate in something like a share economy, basically, from digital devices.
Any of these other subnets that you want to run us through? I know you got 19, Sports Tensor, 404 Gen, Templar.
Yeah, actually, a sports sensor is quite interesting because we have a sports prediction market. Prediction markets with Polymarket getting very popular. And this is actually a subnet that is already profitable. So they are making 35% ROI versus mostly industry negative returns from their centralized counterparts. It was just about 18,000 monthly profits, but they already started the first token buybacks, which is also interesting for quite a novel AI product. And what's really cool as well, if we go to the next tab, 404 Gen, the subnet 17, if you go to the web app, okay, we are already in it. It has a Unity integration. Unity is a 3D asset tool where 3D designers basically create assets. And what we could do here is, for example, create assets for games, for metaverse applications. We're seeing a lot of growth here. And if you just, make me you could create any object and get a 3D. You could, with any prompt, create a 3D object.
Let's see if we can do it.
Interesting. I don't know whether it knows the milkman.
Says it takes up to a minute. Let's keep talking. I'll come back.
But Unity already has 1.2 million active users. So with this integration, this could actually be an interesting subnet as well. Of course, all of these are very risky, very speculative. So don't just buy any subnet tokens. But if you're looking for interesting AI use cases, then Bitttensor subnets are definitely something to consider. And the site, for example, which we just showed, Tau Pill, it's very helpful to understand what different categories are there and what different subnets might be interesting.
So is the trade here trading Tau, which is Bitttensor's token, or is the trade going down into the subnets?
I would say for most investors, the trade is Tau because it's just a bet on the whole ecosystem, and you need to stake it for the different subnet tokens. As I already said, the tokenomics are not bad. There is some inflation, but when we see the whole ecosystem getting more traction, then Tau might not be a bad bet. If you're really into AI, if you can evaluate these subnets and if you are trying around with them and see a very good use case, there might be alpha in these subnets, but they have even higher inflation. They have staking rewards. That's nice, but these might be quite difficult holds because most of them are sub 10 million market cap. So very risky low caps.
Lots
So
of
with
upside,
it,
but even more downside.
Exactly.
it feels to me like launchpad for AI startups, basically. And it also feels similarly to layer ones, where we see if there is something successful, then they are gonna launch their own kind of chain, or I don't know. Like it's easier now to start on the subnet. I guess they'll provide some technical infrastructure and like some docs and some tools and these kind of things. But then if you are really successful, do you still need to be tied up to Bittensor, or you are gonna just your own way and build app chain or whatever?
Yeah, you certainly have a point there, because in the beginning it might be interesting. You are participating in this more decentralized economy. You're getting, of course, all the incentives from Tau, 7,200 Tau per day. And the best subnets get the most incentives, basically. We can also see it on the website here on Tau Stats. If you go to the, subnets, you see, for example, Jutes is the biggest one, gets the most Tau incentives. This was the one where you can use different accounts.
So it's like Curve. Like if you have Curve tokens, you'll stake them, and then you have kind of voting rights to direct the emission of new Curve tokens to the pools, right? So this is the same system here. If you stake Tau to some subnet, then you are driving more incentives to that subnet.
Yeah, you could say it
Mm.
like that. But you're also very transparently seeing which subnets have traction, which ones are popular right now. And these are typically more these with good use case.
It's very
Not
interesting
in the beginning, but yeah.
because there's this question to me. The simple question here is, who's going to win AI? And would you bet on? Obviously, there's a good bet to be made on the large tech companies winning AI, right? Like if Microsoft, Google, Meta, Netflix, like they feel like the likely ones to win. But we keep seeing that they're not the ones winning yet, right? We keep seeing DeepSeek and all of these newer, smaller teams building AI models, building products that are capturing the market and doing Perplexity, another one, right? Perplexity is a small company. It's like 100 people out of the US, and it's like one of the biggest AI apps that we have right now, right? So I think what would interest me about Bitttensor is if you are a builder that wants to build an AI and you need access to compute and access to AI models. You can do that through Bittensor. You get the incentive right now if you go and build on Bittensor. So you have an incentive to do so. And you're part of a big open source ecosystem, which is very attractive to a lot of builders right now. Like I can see where this goes for Bittensor. Like it feels like they can attract the right builders, and if they can get the right apps to actually go, then this ecosystem could continue. Obviously, as Martin said, there's a risk of somebody exiting the ecosystem once you get product market fit and you get big enough. But I don't know. I think there might be continued incentive to stay.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a special kind of builder, maybe more the cypherpunk guys, for example, that are not so much interested in VC money, but more about independence, more value decentralization, for example. Also, many from the Ethereum community, the original ones.
But also, like if you're successful, then you have more Tau staked to your subnet, which means higher, like bigger sell pressure to your token. So it's like, okay, if I'm an investor, I got attracted by this subnet because it feels like they have good product, but at the same time, they are getting a lot of incentives, and therefore their token is probably going to suck in next few months or so. So like, how should I play it? If there is something really useful and which might have potential, like, I don't know, it feels like experimental to me, and more of a like, go there and see what's being built and get some inspiration where this industry might be heading.
It's certainly experimental, but we can't invest in OpenAI or something like that. So that maybe on the next big AI startup.
I mean, everything is experimental in our space except for Bitcoin, basically. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's in all. I mean, I think the other obvious thing here is what token is going to get the AI narrative when the bull market comes back. We already saw it in January, in Q4, and then early Q1 this year. AI tokens ripped, right? It was AI had the narrative. We know that AI is going to get the narrative again. It already has the narrative. Everyone is talking more about AI than they're talking about crypto right now. So when the bull market comes back, there is going to be, I think, a lot of attention on AI tokens. Bitttensor, if it can catch that bid and be the one, or maybe it's just Fartcoin and you should just go buy Fartcoin, but it also has the AI connection. But that is, to me, that's a big play here. If you're looking for an AI token that you can get behind, then it could be Tau. Yeah. I know we have more on the agenda, but I think we gotta wrap here because we're already nearing an hour. Well, great chat today. Great chat.
Yes.
We miss Kyle, but it's good to good to not have him sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. He's enjoying golf, so
hit the golf course more often, Kai. Well, thanks for listening in, everybody. Appreciate you guys showing up. We will see you back again next week for the research meeting. Have yourselves a wicked awesome day. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks so much for listening in, folks. Before I let you go, I got to tell you about a quick documentary that I've been telling all my friends and all my family about, and that is Vitalik, an Ethereum story. And I mean, I'm telling everybody, not just crypto people, I'm telling non-crypto people. This is an incredible documentary made by award-winning filmmakers. This isn't a typical crypto documentary that we've seen in the past. This one is very high quality. It dives into Vitalik's life and his story. And he is a fascinating individual, not just for what he's done with Ethereum, but really the way he thinks and the way he operates beyond just Ethereum is fascinating. And then also, if you're an investor in Ethereum, nothing better than to understand one of the leaders and how his mind works. So check out the documentary today. Link is in the show notes. You won't be upset. Thanks again for listening in. Have an awesome weekend, y'all. As always, if you liked today's episode, please hit subscribe and make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, we're going to also leave a link for Milk Road Pro. You get access to our portfolio where you can see exactly what we are buying. This is your number one resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this show is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Investing in crypto or any asset is risky, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks so much for listening in, my friends. Have a wicked awesome day.